Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to our Tuesday, March 18th Board of Education meeting. At this point, would Mr. Boyce, would you do a, no, what am I doing here? No, I just did that part. Okay, I'd like to do our flag salute. Everybody stand up for flag salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Boyce, could you do a roll call, please?
Yes, Mrs. Van Horn.
Here.
Mr. Sergio is absent. Mr. Jess is absent. Mr. Carlson. Here. Mrs. Sherwin.
Here.
Mrs. Kraska.
Here.
Mrs. Dale.
Here.
Mr. Kimmick.
Here.
Mr. Garcia.
Here.
And Mrs. Shaw is absent.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Boyce. We have a quorum. Public notice, adequate notice of this meeting in compliance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975 entitled the Open Public Meetings Act has been provided by action of the Board of Education at its regular meeting on January 7, 2025. Notices of the Courier News, the Star Ledger circulated in the school district, and a posted notice to this effect on the Board of Education website and Building Bulletin Board, Administrative Headquarters, 51 West Cliff Street, Somerville, New Jersey. Okay. So we have a 5:30 start tonight because the board will enter executive session right away. The Board of Education of the Somerville School District and the County of Somerset will adjourn into closed meeting to discuss items which fall within an exception of our open meetings policy and permit the board to have a private discussion since it deals with specific exceptions contained in NJSA 10-4-12B. And this evening, those two items are pending and anticipated litigation and personnel employment matters affecting a specific prospective or current employee. Being resolved that the board will now go into private session to discuss matters rendered confidential by personnel employment matters affecting a specific prospective or current employee. Any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential will be made public as soon as practical. Minutes of the private session will not be disclosed until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. All appropriate persons who may be discussed in private session have been adequately notified. We anticipate the board action to be taken following the executive session. Can I have a motion to go into executive session, please?
So moved.
Ms. Van Horn, second.
Second.
Ms. Sherwin. The board is in executive session at 5:34. Okay, good evening, everybody. The board has concluded its executive session. Can I have another motion to return to public session?
So moved.
Ms. Van Horn, second. Ms. Sherwin, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, board is back in public session at 6:02 or 3. All right. The board is taking action on one item out of the executive session. We're just going to do this now because it's directly tied to the executive session. I'll read the resolution and I'll need a first and a second. So resolved that the Board of Education approve the settlement agreement and general release for employee number 5985. May I have a first?
So moved.
Ms. Van Horn, second. Ms. Carlson. Any discussion? Mr. Boyce, you need to do a roll on that one?
Yes. Mrs. Van Horn.
Yes.
Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
Mrs. Sherwin.
Yes.
Mrs. Kraska.
Yes.
Mrs. Dale.
Yes.
Mr. Kimmick.
Yes.
Mr. Garcia.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so welcome to everybody that's in the room. We opened the meeting before and there was nobody here, so it's good to see people in the audience this time. We've already done our pledge, and at this point we've reached our public comment session of the meeting. So I'm just going to read our public comment just guidelines. At this point, comment is invited on any matter related to the school district, so it could be an agenda item or not an agenda item. When permitted, public participation shall be governed by the following rules under bylaw 0167. Public participation shall be governed by the following rules. 1, a participant must be recognized by the presiding officer and must preface comments by an announcement of his or her name, municipality of residence, and group affiliation where applicable. 2, each statement made by the participant shall be limited to 3 minutes in duration with a total amount of 30 minutes for the session itself. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic until all others who wish to speak on the topic have been heard. All statements, questions, or inquiries shall be directed to the presiding officer. and any questions or inquiries directed by a participant to another board member shall be redirected to the presiding officer, who shall determine if such statement, question, or inquiry shall be addressed by the presiding officer on behalf of the board or by the individual board member. And lastly, the presiding officer may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement, question, or inquiry when it's too lengthy, interrupt or warn a participant when a statement, question, or inquiry is abusive, obscene, or may be defamatory, request any person to leave the meeting when that person does not observe reasonable decorum, request that the assistance of the law enforcement officers and removal of a disorderly person when that person prevents or disrupts a meeting with an act or obstructs or interferes with the meeting, call for a recess or an adjournment to another time when the lack of public decorum interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting, and waive these rules when necessary for protection of privacy or to maintain an orderly operation of the board meeting. That was a lot. Okay. Okay, at this time, are there any members of the public that would like to make public comment? Okay, we'll start over here.
Hello, members of the board. My name is Gregory Goins, and I'm here with my wife, Kelly. We live in Somerville. Our daughter, Junie, is one of the 9 4-year-olds that did not get chosen for the pre-K lottery this year, and I wanted to take my time to voice my concerns about this. This is an ongoing situation. There's a lot that I won't be able to get to tonight, so I'm going to be as quick as possible and only touch on a few points. First, I want to start with a quote from the Department of Education's website. High-quality preschool can change the educational trajectories of young children and influence their lifetime achievement and well-being. Improvements in children's kindergarten readiness lead to increased achievement and school success, with such benefits as increased earnings that continue for a lifetime. So, board members, when we discuss a child's kindergarten readiness, I don't understand how we are prioritizing 9 3-year-olds who will be attending pre-K for 2 years, while leaving 9 4-year-olds with no access to pre-K at all. This is obviously unfair, and it's a mistake. I brought this up personally with the superintendent, principal, and director of curriculum, who advised me that the PEA grant required 3-year-olds to be included. However, they also admitted that they arbitrarily chose the number 9, even though the grant doesn't specify a required amount. This is disappointing, to say the least. As is the fact that it appears not much effort has been made to find capacity for the disadvantaged children. While a reconciliation is underway to find out why this occurs, I understand it's also too late to assign those spots from the 3-year-olds correctly to the 4-year-olds. So now the goal must shift to figuring out how to get this small amount of 4-year-olds into pre-K for the upcoming year. There's been a lot of time and energy spent on the referendum to allocate $50 million to Somerville School District, including millions on a new turf field at the elementary school. But this has come at the expense of time and energy that should have been spent figuring out how to help our youngest children access pre-K, which, as we know, is so vital to their success. I kindly ask that this issue become a high priority for the board and you work to find alternative solutions. I only started looking into this over the weekend, but I already came up with ideas so that none of the 4-year-olds would be excluded. I'm confident if you try to find a solution, you can. And I ask that you commit to trying, because at this point it doesn't seem like anyone is doing anything to resolve this. The only feedback we've received so far is to just wait on the wait list. And this is unacceptable. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing how the board plans to address this issue.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Are other members of the public wanting to make public comment? Sure. We'll just start here and then we'll go around.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak. I am James Bassalone, lifelong resident of Somerville, and I'm coming to speak about my 4-year-old who also was on the wait list. So, you know, we were very excited and optimistic that she would get in. I guess she had a pretty high probability based upon the amount of open spots. But you know, we just had a bad experience in terms of not much insight into the process itself. Anecdotally, I heard that the actual lottery was posted prior to the streaming of the the lottery itself. And then also, when it was initially posted, a lot of the people on the wait list, the names were there, so, you know, that's not exactly confidential, right? But yeah, I've been a resident my whole life. I've been a property taxpayer for 5 years now, so if there is something that can be done to help with getting the 4-year-olds in, it would be very beneficial. And just even having the insight of, like, I understand the grant requires 3-year-olds, but you know, can you put 1 3-year-old in and then allow the majority of the 4-year-olds in? Just the logic behind it doesn't really make too much sense to me, especially when I have another one on the way. So, you know, it's very expensive with daycare, so appreciate more insight there. But thank you.
Thank you for your comment and congratulations. All right. Here, sir.
Eric Alvarez, Somerville, New Jersey. My daughter is also one of the 9 4-year-olds. I guess I just have questions. Is the district doing anything to create a new section for the affected 4-year-olds?
So we're not going to answer questions right now, just make your comments, and
Okay.
when public comment is done, then we'll close public comment and, you know,
I'll just
we'll address
take a
that.
seat there.
Okay, thank you.
When they're done.
Are there any more preschool? I see you, Mr. Sullivan, we're just going around the horn. I'm not trying to make you last. or anything like that.
Not at all.
If you're going to stand up, you need to just address the board, and sorry to make you do that, I apologize.
So,
Just state your name and your address.
Kathleen Kennard, I'm James Maslone's wife, and yes, this is our 3rd child. So, we were definitely very much looking forward to getting our daughter into preschool. You know, we have 3 kids in daycare now, it's gonna be very difficult. And we've lived here for quite a long time, like you said, we pay taxes. My concern is everything that this gentleman said and my husband said earlier, but then also it was the false hope that I think the parents who have the 3-year-olds and the parents who have 4-year-olds were given. I was told there was no lottery for the last 5 years. When I called the day, it was like February 23rd, when I called the district, they said, oh, we never said there was going to be a lottery for the 4-year-olds, only the 3-year-olds, which really got me excited because, you know, then I'm like, hey, I don't have to plan, my daughter's gonna get in. That was something that I was told. I was also told that there was going to be a lottery, so it was very like disorganized, I feel like. And then even for the 3-year-old parents, you know, they were told that their kids were, you know, gonna have a great chance of getting in, and then nobody told them that only 9 of them are gonna get in. I don't even know, 30-something were waitlisted. I don't think that's fair. Additionally, yes, like you said, I did not like that our children's names were posted. I didn't really understand how that happened. Yeah, so there's just a lot of disorganization, a lot of false hope that we were given. It was just very emotional for, I think, everybody whose child didn't get in, I'm sure. And just like everybody else, I want some answers. I just feel like there was not a lot of clarity. We weren't really told how many spots were going to be provided. We didn't really know anything at all. And I know some of this is out of your control, and I understand that. But I think a lot of people here just want some answers. So.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Ms. Cornick?
Hello, my name is Sharon Warnick. I live at 548 Carlson Street in Brunswick. I'm a high school English teacher here in Somerville, and I'm also president of the Somerville Education Association. So good evening. I wanted to start off by saying congratulations and thank you. The Board of Education made a commitment to the students of Somerville by engaging in the referendum to make necessary facility improvements. The SEA supports this and certainly made phone calls. I think I called every board member here as well. So thank you for allowing me to leave messages on your phone and not just hanging up on me to tell them that the vote was existing. And certainly we support the improvements to our district. However, the second reason I'm here is to discuss curriculum within our district. We can have students attend the most amazing facilities available, but the curriculum to support that, if that's not where it needs to be, then the students are going to be at a disadvantage. I meet with Mr. Labisco on a regular basis, but I have yet to hear a clear plan of what's happening with curriculum. This is concerning considering it feels like another lost year, lost opportunity. During the month of July, we had educational consultants from Blondie and Mike Weisner here with the staff, and they conducted the curriculum audit. The staff was energized, they were engaged, more than I think I've ever seen them in my career here in Somerville. And in October, you adopted the curriculum audit, and so I was under the impression that the board wanted to address the issues in this audit. In fact, I believe that Mike and Ron were both hired to work with the staff to implement some of these changes to address the audit. But the problem I'm seeing is that the staff has not seen Ron or Mike since July. And we have now passed another school down. Another school year, we have, the old top-down approach. And my question to the board is why haven't we seen the people we've hired to help us get to where we need to be as far as the curriculum is concerned? So
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else who would like to make public comment? Mr. Sullivan.
I get the rest of the hour.
I think it was 30 minutes.
Dennis Sullivan, 8 South Richards Avenue. First comment, as a retired teacher, having taught in the district from 1973 till 2008, I want to make mention of the 2 individuals that I worked with during my career who are retiring. Carrie Plotkin was my instructional assistant for many years at Central School. And I had, in my career, I missed 33 days for illness. But 10 of those days happened consecutively in 1997. And Carrie stepped in. They didn't need a substitute in the room. The law required it. But she stepped up, and she managed my classroom for 2 weeks. And if you've ever had the pleasure to be in one of my classrooms, you know what that entailed. So I followed her career all the years ever since I've been gone, and it's bittersweet, I'm sure, for her, but she was a tremendous asset to the faculty at Central School and at Vanderveer, and especially for myself as a special educator. I could not have done the job I did without Carrie. So I'd like that right into the official minutes, that on a personal level, I wish her all the luck in the world. Plus, she's a parent of 2 great, Somerville products as well. One of whom's in Washington now, trying to steer our country in a good direction. So, on a personal level, I wish her the best. I also had the pleasure to work indirectly with Denise Lang at the high school at the very end of my career. I didn't have direct classroom contact with her, but when you walk by a classroom, you can get a sense of what's going on there. And most high school kids don't like history, and they don't like science. Well, my classroom was fun, and her classroom was fun as well, because we understood where the kids were coming from. And she was a consummate professional, and again, I want to wish her the best. Last comment I have, and I wasn't prepared to speak, but in terms of the preschool program, I got my start in the Head Start movement in the 60s. I was probably one of 50 men in the world that had a degree in nursery K education. The earlier you can get kids in school, the better off they're going to be. Somerville's had a great tradition of special education, nursery school, pre-K, K, and I just ask the board to do whatever it takes to make sure that every child from age 3 and up has a chance to attend our fine schools.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Are there any other members of the public who would like to make comment? Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion to close public comment, please?
So moved.
Mr. Carlson, second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Okay. All right, public comment is now closed. I do just want to make a few comments about some of the comments that were made. Relative to preschool, I just want to assure you, like, I've seen emails, I've seen the questions that you've asked. The board is very aware of the concerns that are being expressed. I think some of the questions that you're asking are not something that can be addressed tonight in a public meeting. I can only assure you that we will have discussions as a board. I know the administration is also discussing preschool. I am very familiar with the idea of what is involved with PEA in terms of the education requirements that the Department of Education places on districts. That's different than what we had in place 2 years ago. So there are things that have changed. The other thing I'm hearing is just around communication and just having foreknowledge of certain things. And my commitment around that is that, we will endeavor to do much better than what happened this year. The lottery is something that's very, very new. It's something that's used in a lot of communities, but it's something that's very, very new to Somerville. And my impression is that you didn't really understand that fully as well. So I can only assure you that the board is aware of that and committed to making improvements in that process as well. Relative to the comments made concerning just focus on curriculum, Ms. Cornick is out in the hallway there. I can only assure you again that the board is committed to that process and committed to focusing on what's happening in the classrooms for students, and that's what we're all here, is just focusing on students and making sure that that the work and the support that is provided to our educators and to the students is what's necessary for staff to do and the best job that they can do with the students. And Mr. Sullivan, thank you for your comments as well. I do have something in my president's notes that I just want to make clear in terms of some of the retirements as well. But I do appreciate you coming out and actually making those comments. Okay. All right, moving on with that, moving on to.
The answer that you gave us is.
I'm not going to engage this right now. Public comment is closed, so I apologize that the public comment is closed. So we're not going to have discussion publicly about this right now. I can assure you that the administration, if you have questions specific to this, the administration is available to answer those questions, but we're not going to do this in a public forum right now because the board members are not the ones that can answer those questions immediately right now. So
I thought you told me I could ask a question.
Well, the question was what you asked me over here, I think. And if the question is different than the emails that were received, because there were about 30 questions that I'm aware of that were asked within the emails. My ask of all of you is that you email the superintendent directly, and he can respond to the questions. And again, if you're not satisfied with that response, then we can entertain those comments again at the next meeting. But I think the most appropriate thing to do at that point is you have not engaged with the superintendent. I'm aware that one of you has. I'm not aware that all the others have, and I would ask that you first reach out to the superintendent, seek an answer from them, have that conversation around that. I think, if necessary, you can meet in person with staff to have discussions about the concerns that you have, and then at that point, if you're not satisfied with that, then the board would be involved with that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I thought there would just be more information on that.
Yeah, I apologize. Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Okay, all right. And Mr. Boyce, can we do approval of the minutes, please? Do I have to do that?
Yes, you do that.
Approval of the minutes. Thank you. Resolved that the Board of Education approve the minutes for the Board of Education meeting as follows, February 11th, regular meeting. Can I have a motion for that, please? Mr. Carlson, second.
Second.
Ms. Van Horn, any discussion? Okay, Mr. Boyce, can you do a roll for that, please?
Yes, Mrs. Van Horn.
Yes.
Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
Mrs. Sherwin.
Yes.
Mrs. Kraska.
Yes.
Mrs. Dale.
Abstain.
Mr. Kimmick.
Yes.
Mr. Garcia.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Board President's report, I have some prepared comments that I'll try to do very, very quick with in the interest of time. I do want to note that this is Neurodiversity Celebration Week. I think that's something for the community to be aware of. Neurodiversity is basically saying everyone's brain is wired a bit differently, and it's a much more inclusive way of thinking about strengths that students have. And we typically think about students having ADHD or being diagnosed with autism or other areas that people kind of consider disorders, and neurodiversity really kind of speaks to the idea that it's not. It's just a way of being, and it's a way of being creative and thinking about approaches to things somewhat differently. And it's just something, again, that I wanted to kind of bring to the board's attention. We have lots of people within this district that, have all sorts of diagnoses, and we have many staff that work directly with all of these individuals and do a great job of, I think, supporting them and thinking about the way that we can be inclusive in our approaches. So I just want to thank all the people that do that on a daily basis, because that's a big part of making our school something that everybody feels welcome in. I also want to acknowledge the staff members who are retiring at the end of the school year. Mr. Sullivan mentioned Ms. Potkin, who's been an instructional assistant at Vanderveer really since 1995. So she's been in the district for 30 years. So that's quite a career and a legacy to have within the district. And the number of people that she's worked with and the students' lives that she's touched, I think, is something that we should all be appreciative of. Denise Lang is also retiring this year. She has served at Somerville High School as a chemistry teacher from 2006 to this year. And again, that's quite a tenure within a district, and it's something, again, when you think about just the impact that somebody has in terms of being a high school teacher. And then Ms. Taylor has served at Somerville High School as a French teacher from 2015 to 2025, and she is also retiring. So I just want to acknowledge that and thank those people for their service and the commitment that they've had to our students and the contributions that they've made to the community itself. I also want to thank the Elliott family, who donated a 9-foot Baldwin grand piano to the Somerville High School Music Department. The donation was made in honor of Don Elliott, a generous benefactor and Somerville High School graduate from the class of 1944. So thank you to them for that donation. That was quite an expensive piano that was donated to the district, and it's something, again, that students and I think the music department will benefit from greatly. And there's just a few items I want to just point out to the public regarding some agenda items. The first is that the board is approving 2 board goals this evening. It's really something that we have not done as a board since I've been involved with the board, so I want to thank board members in terms of just their thoughtfulness around developing goals and kind of getting that established as something that's important for the board to do. The second is that we're approving the school calendar for the next school year, so that's something, again, that has gone through a number of iterations, and there's been a lot of conversation around just making adjustments and getting input from all of the parties that are involved with that. So I want to thank everybody that was involved with that process. And then also, importantly, is that tonight the board will approve a tentative budget. There'll be just an overview a little bit within terms of our finance committee notes, but there's been a lot of work done around the tentative budget as well. And the board hearing will take place, or the budget hearing will take place at the next meeting. And then I just want to thank the residents of Somerville who turned out to vote on March 11th, regardless of how they voted. We've been saying all along, it's just important to have people go out and vote. The support that the community always shows to the schools relative to the referendum, relative to just the commitment to, I think, just having the best schools possible is something that we're all proud of. There are a number of items on the business agenda relative to the referendum because there are some bond items on there that will take place with that. And then a lot of people don't realize, but there were communications committee meetings that were held that had probably over 25 people in attendance at times. There were a lot of people that committed time out of their own time to meet with board members and to just support making sure that the referendum was well communicated. So with that, I'll turn it over to the superintendent for superintendent's report.
Just a quick question, Bill.
Yes, sir.
The time situation we have, do we need to come back to my report? I'm okay with swapping.
I would like to get, I'd like to get our student reports, and then you can go. All right, so why don't we do that? You're on.
Oh my God.
Riley.
Okay. Hi, it's been a while, but I am back. So I'm going to start with the reason why I was gone, winter sports. Winter sports have officially come to an end, sadly. Boys basketball ended their season with a record of 19-9 and also won a conference championship. The girls basketball team finished their season with a record of 23-6, as well as won a back-to-back conference championship and made it all the way to the state semifinals. Very exciting. Boys and girls fencing both had very successful seasons as they both took on some pretty tough opponents. Boys swimming ended with 500 record, and girls swimming team had a very successful season as well. Something exciting is that our Valkyrie Club, basically the people who do the newspaper at our school, they have officially launched a website, and it's pretty cool, so I would definitely check it out if you are interested. Yearbooks are still on sale. They're currently $105. and you can get them either through, it's a little pricey, I'm not gonna lie. You can either get them through the Jostens website or just somewhere on the school website. The Genesis Club is having a service meeting to prepare for their big movie night, and they're celebrating St. Patrick, which is really fun. We would also like to congratulate the February students of the month. For the freshmen, Dushawn Dorsey and Adriana Pellegrino. For the sophomores, Abnir Avalos Mendoza and Vanessa Quezada Villa. For the juniors, Devin Heron and Emma March. And for the seniors, Ava Barbarian and Riley DeSarno.
I don't know how I can go about that. I have competition. So now that winter sports over, we obviously have spring sports coming along. So they officially started last week. Tryouts and practices started last week. This is our second week going. And baseball, softball, boys and girls lacrosse, and boys tennis have their first scrimmages starting this week. Back to the late bus. I know we love to hear it. Branchburg Transportation offers a late bus to students who live in Branchburg and are staying after school for a club, tutoring, or sports. Students must sign up in the main office each day if you'd like to take the bus prior to 1 p.m. And please note, if you'd like to take the bus home, you must sign up. If you have not signed up, you will not be let on the bus. If you have any questions, please let the main office know. Men's choir is open to all students at Somerville High School, even if you're not in the actual choir class. They do it every Tuesday, 2:30 to 3:15 in room 102 by the auditorium, and you can email Mr. Noah with any questions. We also have a shoe drive fundraiser going on right now, so if you're cleaning out your closet at home, SMAC is hosting a shoe drive fundraiser. Their mission is to kind of collect new and gently used shoes, which will benefit the local and greater community in 3 ways. It helps clears out closets at home. The shoes are donated to developing countries to support their economies, and SMAC will receive a donation based on the number of shoes that are donated. Their goal is to get at least 2,500 pairs of shoes, and the collection dates will be March 3rd to April 25th. The bin is in the main office at Somerville High School. Earlier this month at the high school, we celebrated SEL Day, which is Social Emotional Learning. This day is celebrated across the world to support children's academic success, mental health, and well-being. There were different activities throughout the high school, but in the library, you could color, make bracelets. There was a lot, you can dance, and we even had a visit from Jeter, the therapy dog. And lastly, there's a showcase of art tonight where Riley's painting actually is. So if you want to stop by there, they're doing it 6 to 7 at the high school. And students' artworks from exploring art, communication design, and 3D experience classes are being held to represent their artworks throughout the year.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
Awesome report. You two are welcome to leave if you'd like to, because I know you have things you have to do. All right, so we'll see you next month.
Thank you very
Okay? All right.
Huh?
Yeah, next month. Thank you. Take care. All right. Okay, we're going to move a couple things around the agenda because one of our board members at least has to leave in a bit. So I just want to make sure we have time to address the action items that we have to do, and then we'll come back around again to the reports that we have to do. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to do a consent agenda on the items that are preschool through 8 and then 9 through 12. And then we will come back to committee reports so the public can hear the committee reports as well. All right, so at this point, I'd like to make a motion to approve that items 1 through 25 be moved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of the schools. Appointments and salaries are contingent upon verified documentation. Can I have a first for that, please?
So moved.
Ms. Van Horn, is there a second?
Second.
And Ms. Sherwin, is there any discussion?
I just wanted to say thank you to Ms. Plotkin as well, because she worked with my daughter.
That's
and
awesome.
she was amazing, and we were very lucky to have her, so congratulations to her.
Great. Any other comments or discussion? Okay, Mr. Boyce, can you do a roll, please?
Yes, Mrs. Van Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Carlson,
Yes.
Mrs. Sherwin,
Yes.
Mrs. Krask,
Yes.
Mrs. Dale,
Yes.
Mr. Kimmick,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then for the 9th through 12th grade items, A motion to approve that items 26 through 52 be moved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools. Appointments and salaries contingent upon verified documentation. Can I have a first for that? Ms. Van Horn, second.
Second.
Ms. Dale, good job. Okay. Any discussion? Okay. I do want to make it clear that this is where the tentative budget approval is set. So the next meeting is the public hearing on the budget. What this allows us to do is for the tentative budget to be reviewed by the county now, and for the county to actually make sure that the budget is able to be approved in April. And then this is also the section that has board goals that are also set in here as well. Okay. All right, Mr. Boyce, can you do a roll, please?
Yes, Mrs. Van Horn.
Yes.
Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
Mrs. Sherwin.
Yes.
Mrs. Kraska.
Yes.
Mrs. Dale.
Yes.
Mr. Kimmick.
Yes.
Mr. Garcia.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. All right, now we are going to go back to superintendent's report.
Thank you, Bill. So lots of things. First of all, want to thank the community for a really wonderful 3 months of engaging over the referendum. Brian and I and Bill were able to get out, and many of our board members, and engage directly with members of the community, answer all questions they had. We want to thank everyone for coming out and voting. As we said from the beginning, it was informational. We just wanted people to have it so they could make a decision that was best for them and their family. And I think there's some really exciting things there for the future of Somerville. Our children are going to be better off for it and have really great opportunities inside the classroom and out. So I'm excited about that. Number two, just unfortunately, they are not here, but the preschool parents, we were able to sit down with the one that did reach out, and I want to urge and welcome anyone else to reach out for those conversations. It's important that we are able to engage and answer any questions they have, and we're happy to do so. So we'll continue those conversations with them, and I do have their names. I can reach out if they don't reach out to me first. So just wanted to add that. And I am sorry if there was any miscommunication. Obviously we want to get everything out we can to all of these folks, and we'll certainly reflect and make any adjustments that are needed going forward. I want to congratulate both our high school and our middle school for wonderful musical performances. All Shook Up and Willy Wonka happened in the last 2 weeks, and if you were lucky enough to go and see them, you were really in for a treat. Our children, our staff members that supported them, our parents, and the community really did a great job of putting on great performances. And as you know, eventually they'll have a brand new facility at the high school as a result of the referendum to have those performances. So that's wonderful to see. I also wanted to congratulate, and we'll do so in a more formal and a much more expansive way, our retirees. There's nothing more important to a school district than staff members that have dedicated their entire lives to the children of Somerville. And I want to thank Carrie Plotkin, Denise Lang, and Susan Taylor for everything they did for our students. I only was able to know them for a short amount of time, but their reputations speak volumes for everything they did for our children, and I thank them. I thank them personally already, but we'll do so a little bit more formally later in the school year, and that's always a bittersweet moment as we get to thank them for all their service, but wish them luck in their retirement. So thank you for everything you did for our children. What I'd like to do now is a little bit of update on our audit. As I have been doing, I put that both in my newsletter but also at the board meetings here, update all the important work that our administrators and staff have been doing for the curriculum audit that was discussed earlier. So first of all, our focus remains on enhancing data-driven instruction, strengthening intervention programs, and supporting our educators for student success. We continue to leverage data to inform teaching and learning. In February and March, our curriculum and instruction team and building administrators have been communicating and organizing in building level meetings, deep dives, analyzing test results from the SLA, iReady, and Linkit to improve student performance for the upcoming tests. Additionally, administrators at all 3 buildings are reviewing iReady diagnostic data for both ELA and math to guide instructional planning. And the idea really is to find where our students might be needing a little bit of extra support in terms of learning standards and making adjustments accordingly. Weekly monitoring of iReady MyPath at both Vanderveer and Middle School really helps get targeted support there. In terms of intervention, there's a 6-week extended day math program that's going to launch in April at both the elementary and middle school, along with the Rutgers online reading program to further strengthen literacy skills. In terms of multilingual learners, this room has been a hotbed of activity where 89 of our staff members have begun the SEI, Sheltered English Instruction Training, in which we're partnering with Dr. Nagrin and Ms. Ochoa, who are experts in their field, to provide the necessary best practices to help ML students and take the access data, meaning the standardized tests for multilingual learners, to inform instruction, but also teach best practices. And those best practices don't only help multilingual learners. Those are best practices that can be used for any learner in the classroom, especially those that might be struggling. And by getting all of our teachers that type of training, we know that it's going to help all of our students in the classroom. And the idea is now we have 89 of our staff members going through, but to make sure that all our staff members have been trained in SEI. And then you just need a refresher every so often. But we want to get everyone that formalized training, and this is just the start of that. In terms of curriculum development and instructional alignment, there's refining math frameworks and pacing guides that have been worked on with Ms. Kane at both Vanderveer and the middle school. Standardizing district-approved resources to make sure there's consistency in instruction. Strengthening intervention programs by monitoring it, but also getting training for those folks that are doing our intervention work and monitoring and managing our intervention work. And launching a Literacy Leaders Committee this spring to take a big look at what's being done in the classroom for literacy and ELA. Our data teams, as I've talked about prior, are up and fully functioning since the fall, both at a building and a district level. They continue to meet at the very minimum monthly, but also continuing to get training. They had some direct training in February. They have another training coming up in April. And the idea is that they are going to be able to turnkey that information. In other words, as we get our teachers up to speed, our data experts are going to be able to take that information, digest it for them, and help the teachers to make real-time adjustments for the students in the classroom. They're using iReady Diagnostic number 3 at the high school, which is a real indicator of how students will be able to perform on NJSLA. And we're using Linked assessments for 8th grade Algebra 1 students. That's not something that has been previously done, but we want to get that indicator so we know where our students are. And we're holding March and April meetings with that Linked representative to continue that training that I spoke of. Finally, teacher recruitment and hiring improvements. This has been obviously a goal and a focus of ours since the beginning of the year, but especially since Dr. Cifuentes has been on staff. So we're implementing frontline recruiting systems for streamlining and organizing and creating a coherent hiring practice, developing SOPs in hiring, selection, and discipline aligned with our board policies, distributing the surveys for future staffing needs, and also participating in multiple job fairs to get the word out and try to recruit. As we know, that's a really important part in today's day and age. If I go back 20-something years when I started in education, you'd have hundreds of applicants for open positions. As we know, that's not the case anymore. So it's really important to try to partner with universities and get student teachers and those folks into the building and meet them and establish those relationships early, and we're doing that. But on top of that, going to these job fairs, getting the word out that this is a great place to work, because it is a tremendous place to work, and recruiting people that way. And Dr. Cifuentes has already made some nice connections in just a short amount of time. She's going to continue to do so, and so that we can find people. We have these 3 retirements that are going to sting, but the idea is to try to find folks that are able, that can step in and help our students achieve. So with all that said, we're really making great strides in addressing those audit recommendations. We're going to continue to do so, and I'll continue to share all the great work that our staff and our administrators and our students are doing. So thank you.
Thank you. 6:43. All right. We're going to jump down to technology curriculum instruction, and you have the floor. Okay, go for it.
Okay. So we met as a curriculum committee on February 26th and on March 12th, so 2 times really since our last meeting. And most of the things that we discussed Mr. Labisco has already discussed in his report, because we do at every curriculum meeting talk about the audit and how we are coming to those goals. So a couple of things that were not discussed. Did you discuss the you didn't discuss the professional development?
I did not.
Feedback.
Yes.
Okay, so we had a professional development day in February, correct?
Yes.
And the administrators asked the staff for feedback regarding this. And out of 275 staff members, 225 people provided feedback. And it seemed to be very positive feedback, correct? And they were happy with it seemed that a lot of people were happy with the PD that was offered that day. Some focus areas are data analysis and vertical articulation. And future goals, we're hoping for a joint PD day with Branchburg next year, planning for next year. Increased ESL training, increased SEI training, which Mr. Labisco spoke about, and more and more teachers are receiving that SEI training each year. So again, as he said, eventually for everybody to have that training. Discuss that. Okay, so let's just move on. And this past one that we had on March 12th, pretty much we discussed the budgetary implications of the state aid decrease. So how the budget will be affecting curriculum, and that pretty much took up our conversation for that time. So I don't know, what of that I share, or that's enough?
I think much will be covered in the
In the budget report.
Yeah.
Yep, okay, and that is it, thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Dale? Meaning that she has to leave in a minute, so. All right. Thank you, Ms. Dale. Enjoy the high school. All right, let's jump down to, or I should say up to Finance, Security, Buildings and Grounds. I think, Mr. Garcia, you're going to do that report?
Yes. So this evening, the board voted on a tentative budget for the 2025-2026 school year. Following the board's approval, the budget will be submitted to the County Superintendent of Schools for review and approval. A public hearing regarding the budget is scheduled for April 29th, at which time the board will vote on the adoption of the final budget. The Finance Committee has been actively engaged since early November in reviewing the progress of the budget development process. The committee began by establishing key budget goals, assessing enrollment projections, and prioritizing capital projects. The committee has carefully reviewed the programmatic section of the budget to ensure that it is aligned with both the evolving needs of our student population and findings of the recent curriculum audit. Additionally, the committee examined the revenue side of the budget. Unfortunately, the district experienced a reduction of $301,317 in general fund state aid. In response, the district has continued its efforts to identify efficiencies and explore alternative sources of revenue, allowing us to maintain all current programs. Furthermore, the district remains committed to funding capital projects as part of a long-term capital improvement plan. Notable projects included in the tentative budget are the replacement of the HVAC systems, security upgrades, and playground replacement at Vanderveer School. The Board of Education meeting on April 29th will feature a comprehensive budget presentation as part of the public hearing on the 2025-2026 budget, during which we will provide a detailed overview of these areas and others. And that concludes the report.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from board members? All right. Okay, Communications Committee?
Communications met on February 24th and March 4th, and all of the meetings were basically focused on the referendum, getting the word out, and getting people involved in helping to get that word out.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right, that was big. Those are long meetings too. So I do want to thank you for that. There were a number of board members that were involved with that. I'll just make mention that our ad hoc negotiations committee met on March 11th. That information at this point is negotiations related, so will not be shared with the community, but just know that the committee has been meeting because we have active negotiations going on right now as well. All right, and then with that, are there any old business items? I did it really quick.
Yeah, you did. So, one item, just because we went out of order, I did miss one important item, and I want to it already happened, so I was going to say it before it happened, and that is very excited about the appointment of Miss Kelly Strecka in the audience here. So I want to thank Kelly for stepping in since September as our acting assistant principal and doing a tremendous job and servicing our kids down at Vanderveer. She is a dedicated educator who cares so much for our kids and is really excited to step into this role, I know, in a permanent sense, but we're really excited to have someone that is so knowledgeable of elementary education curriculum and the right-hand person for Miss Lindsay Pfeffer. So, congratulations, Kelly. So, introducing the upcoming agenda item, I'll congratulate you.
Thank you.
It's always better to do it that way.
Yeah, it works. Thank you.
Congratulations, that's great. Any other old business items? Okay, can I have a motion to close old business?
So moved.
Mr. Carlson, second.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Great. New business items, are there any new business items from board members? Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion to close new business?
So moved.
We'll change this up. Ms. Sherwin, second.
Second.
Mr. Carlson, nice. All right, any discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Okay, new business is closed. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Ms. Sherwin, second.
So moved.
Ms. Van Horn, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are closed out of session at 6:51. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.